Hi kids, I'm going to read you another one of Grandpa's nice stories. This one's called Eddy's First Bike. Eddy needed money. The boys had worked for a number of days at the golf course, hunting balls and selling them to the golfers. The golfers could get a good buy from them. Yet if the golfers were having a bad day, they could get angry with the boys. Eddy remembered seeing one golfer get so mad that he threw a club and it stuck up in a tree. Eddy tried to figure out how that could happen. Anyway, Eddy finally saved $10, which was enough to start shopping for a good used bike. Mama showed him the classified section in the local newspaper, and he started down the column. He didn't get far when he came to a bike for sale for $7.50. Bingo! Eddy felt like a man of the world, able to run an item like this down so incredibly quickly. Mama took him to town, and he knew that the blue bike for $7.50 was the one for him. He couldn't believe his good fortune. He figured it was a rugged-looking man's bike, and the lady said it was a good bike too. At home, he rolled it out for show. With one accord, Eddy's brothers laughed and laughed. "What's wrong?" the surprised Eddy asked. "That's a girl's bike," they roared. Eddy's heart sank. He felt 2 inches tall, but his pride took over, and he proclaimed, "So what? I know that. I don't care." "Yes, you do," David said. As he walked away, he knew, and Eddy knew, Eddy did care. A lot. Now, this being Eddy's first bike, he didn't know how to ride one. But so what? He had lost interest in bikes anyway, at least in this bike. $7.50 down the tubes. He pushed his blue clunker over to the number 9 green, situated at the highest point of Pa's pitch-and-putt golf course. From the top of this hill, the green valley beckoned for Eddy to push off and soar like a bird. It was an imposing hill for a first-time biker, and Eddy perched there on that blue bike. He waited under the main plum tree and wondered at the sight before him. Delaying the inevitable, he pondered why this was called the main plum tree. The other one, located on the other side of the green, was an elephant plum, and its plums weren't much good. But this main tree would break its branches from the weight of its fruit. That's how much it got. He smiled as he remembered Johnny, Donnie, Davy, and himself sitting up there and eating plum after purple plum. Then suddenly, Davy would shinny down as if there was grease in the tree and a lighty shuck for the house. The others wouldn't be too far behind. Then at home, they faced the problem of only one bathroom. Eddy scuffed the ground with his toe. The ground was hard dirt now. At the end of the plum season, the extras would fall to the ground. This would make it slick for them to run and slide on. It would be a slip and slide right through Yellow Jackets. But there weren't any Yellow Jackets eating plums now. Eddy looked down that hill from his blue bomb, took a deep breath, and then pushed off. In a fright, he became aware of 2 things. First, he didn't know how to stop a bike. And second, this roller coaster ride ended in a sheer drop-off. Past the number 2 and 3 greens he soared. Then the hill flattened out before sloping down again toward the bay, the drop-off, and death. The flat stretch was actually fun, but all Eddy could see was the row of holly bushes stretching across the path that ended near the southwestern corner of the swimming pool. With longing, Eddy remembered the summers he and his brothers, and his sisters, Annie, Angela, Mary, and Margie, would catch thrushes in those holly bushes and teach them to fly. They would hold the little birds in their fingers and wave them up and down until they flew away. It was an important job. How could they ever fly without their help? Davies usually flew first. Recklessly, Eddy flew down the hill, with Davy watching breathlessly under the holly trees. His front wheel shimmied and shook as he tried to keep the machine upright. He was hopelessly out of control, and all he could think about was that cliff, and how would he ever stop? Now Davy would have liked this adventure. He was wild, but not Eddy. Bouncing over the molehills, eyes bulging, lips flapping, hair flying behind him. Eddy saw a gap between the holly trees. If he could only aim for it. The gap was about 25 feet wide, but to Eddy it was the eye of a needle. It was the left bush that was bothering him. Its sticker glared their challenge in the bright sunlight. Before he knew what was happening, with his hands glued to the handlebars, he smacked that little tree dead center. Now this part might be a little hard to swallow, but it's true. Eddy flipped headfirst over that tree and lit on his feet on the other side. Say, he thought, that was all right. Davy ran up and looked at Eddy's blue bike. The forks are bent. That bike is ruined, he said. So what? Eddy responded gleefully. I hated that bike anyway. It was a girl's bike. Davy nodded sagely. They both knew. The end. I love you, kids. I love you, Malachi, Lily, and Corinthia. Goodbye.